Just because you're skinny doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. And in this episode, we're going to talk just about that skinny doesn't necessarily equal to healthy and how to resolve that.
Welcome to the What Up Doc University podcast, your number one resource for total body wellness. Here's your host, Dr. Mike.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the What Up Doc University podcast. This is Dr. Mike Okouchi, and I am recording this on a rainy day here in Southern California. It's really rare that we get rain like this on a consistent basis in Southern California. We've been going through a drought for the past few years. Now we're getting a lot of rain, and something about the rain in Southern California that people get insane. They're just like, oh my gosh, it's like seeing something that you've never seen for, ever and reacting to it. It's so funny, I'm dropping off the kids, seeing these crazy people on the roads. I'm sorry, I just get a kick out of it. Being born and raised in Hawaii, it rains all the time at the drop of a dime. Then moving to, I moved to Portland and Oregon to go to school where it rained all the time. And just to see the rain in Southern California, it's a good change. But, you can't let the rain get down on you. And sometimes that's what happens to a lot of people. And I'm using this as a metaphor for your health, is that sometimes these things that may be unexpected can actually ruin your forward momentum, And the reason why I say this is we are in, like the latter part of the first month of the year, January. Everybody's getting their New Year's resolutions, goals, especially for weight loss, rolling along. And sometimes these unexpected things come along the way and they hinder your progress. And that's the whole reason why I did that episode 38 about navigating your weight loss journey. Kind of give you guys some tips on what to do, to either kickstart your weight loss program or to keep yourself going once you've hit that plateau, that inevitable plateau that everybody that they hit, and it's really difficult to get over that hump. So if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and take a listen to episode 38. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. This podcast is dedicated to giving you the informational resources for total body wellness. That means looking at your body and how it functions and the things that you can do to help it to function better and keep it functioning better. And I truly believe, as a holistic physician, that you can do certain things to the body in a natural way that will enhance the body's natural ability to heal itself. And it's usually because there's something inhibiting the body from healing itself. That's what we need to identify. And that's what we're doing in the podcast. So welcome to all the brand new listeners. And if you're a veteran listener, welcome back. And thank you guys for supporting. If you would be so kind, please leave us a review on iTunes. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review if you love it. And please share this with your friends and family. We have a goal this year to double or not triple our listenership. And the whole goal with that is we want to help as many people as possible get the correct information, because I see so much misinformation out there. And sometimes it's not even just misinformation, it's just the lack of the proper information. And that's what's keeping people from achieving their health goals and health results. But today we want to talk all about what's called metabolic obesity, normal weight. And the reason why I want to talk about that is people only focus on weight as being an issue for their health. Okay? And the problem with that is if you use that as your only measuring stick, that means that you are overlooking some very important things. And I'm going to go over studies and some of the things that you can do to actually see if you fall into this category, right? So let's get started. So people who are overweight they know exactly that their weight has a direct impact upon their health. That's not necessarily a secret, right? People, it's been known for ages. Well, I'm a little bit overweight. I need to do something. It may lead towards other things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, all of this kind of stuff. There's a link towards being overweight and having these chronic illnesses. But there's this other subset of the population that doesn't necessarily have a weight issue, but they still fall into a category that biochemically they're not balanced out. That's what we want to address, okay? And if you read a lot of the studies, they show that these people who aren't overweight, they're actually at a greater risk of dying prematurely than people who are overweight. And it's this paradox. I know it seems weird, but the reason is it's because it's kind of like you have your house is on fire, and the person who's overweight is like the house is on fire and the alarm goes off. You know that a fire is burning in your house. But the person who isn't necessarily overweight, they may have a fire burning in their house, but their fire alarms aren't notifying them. So you got two fires going. One alarm goes off, the other one doesn't. It's more likely the person who has the alarm going off is going to be able to do something about the fire versus the person who doesn't have that alarm going off. That's where we see the problem of thinking that I'm healthy. I'm judging my health just because I am at my normal weight. Okay, so this is why I tell people don't equate your weight to your state of health. Okay? So let's move on to, I want to show you guys a couple of different studies, and these studies I'm going to link to in the show notes because these are very important for you to reference. Now, in the Journal of American Medical Association, there was a study about metabolic obesity, normal weight, and they estimate that about 25% of the United States population falls into this category. Now, if you look at the statistics that let's say they're saying about 45 to 67%, almost 2/3 of the U.S. population is overweight, obese. And then we have the other population of 25% being considered metabolically obese but normal weight. We got a big problem in the United States, if not the world. So there's a problem going on here that needs to be addressed. Okay, and in the study, there's a quote. Let me pull it up here. It says, adults who are normal weight at the time of incident diabetes have higher mortality than adults who are overweight or obese. And basically, they're saying that the alarm in their house is not going off. That's why it's worse, right? They have a higher mortality than adults who are overweight, obese, because they don't know that anything's going on. Physically, they can't see it. So they just kind of let things go. There's no alarm going off. So they keep going with their current lifestyle until something hits, until the fire just burns down the house. And then that's when we see the problems, right? Now, in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, this is a study that showed that even those who are normal weight would benefit from a caloric restriction diet. And they're talking about hyperinsulinism being one of the key and causative factors for increase in the rate of mortality. Now, you look at this statement that normal weight individuals would benefit from a caloric restriction diet. Now, we're in the beginning of the new year. People are partaking in weight loss programs. And I read this statement and it says, well, even if you're normal weight, you would still benefit from doing a caloric restriction diet, meaning that you need to lose the metabolic weight, not necessarily just the physical weight. So, I tell people that they should be doing some type of detoxification regimen at least twice a year. So January is always a good one, and then summer going, maybe July going into August. those are two good times that I recommend people doing some type of regimen like that. And this is a study that actually supports that, that people who are normal weight would benefit from a caloric restriction diet. So just because you're skinny doesn't necessarily equate to health, guys. Now, here's one that I use in practice, and this is so important, guys. I want you to really pay attention to this one. So we're all about quantification and knowing, the different numbers and biometrics. And in the Journal of Nutrition and Diabetes, they were like, well, okay, we have all of these biometrics, right? We have weight, we have hip to waist ratios, BMI, blood pressure, all of these different numbers that we're putting people into and saying, well, if you fall into a certain category, it means that you're unhealthy. If you fall into another category, it means that you are healthy. But if you look at it, well, does that necessarily tell the entire truth? And according to, looking at metabolic obesity and normal weight, using things like BMI, which is how we classify people being either overweight or obese, we're still not getting that full picture, because that other 25% falls into a normal BMI. So if you went to your doctor and you got your BMI calculated, and then it says, well, you're considered a normal BMI, yeah, go along your way. We're letting that fire continuously burning, right? So we need to basically look at what are the other alarms that's not necessarily notifying us, but it is triggering something. So this study looked at BMI and all of that stuff, but then they said that's not enough. We need to be doing something else. So what they came up with, what's called a TYG index. And the TYG index was looking at metabolic profiles and creating a ratio or a number, just like what the BMI does. And if you're not familiar with what BMI is, that's the body mass index, where you're looking at, your height and weight and creating this ratio. And according to where you fall in that, it'll determine if you're overweight, if you're obese or clinically obese, and all of these different numbers. And that served us fairly well, because it's kind of obvious when you see a person who has a higher BMI, you're like, okay, that's a pretty obvious thing. But what about that last 25%? So this is why they came up with this index. And what they use for the TYG index was your metabolic profile, specifically fasting triglycerides and fasting glucose levels, because those pretty much are the ones that will determine, if you have a higher propensity to develop diabetes or heart disease. So the TYG index is your fasting triglycerides times your fasting glucose divided by 2. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll put all this in the show notes. Okay, so if you have recent blood tests, you can calculate that yourself. Most medical doctors will not calculate this index for you. Most of them actually don't know about it, but you can calculate it yourself. So take a look at your blood work. Look at your triglycerides, and your blood work should have been done fasting, by the way. So look at your blood work, look at the triglyceride total, multiply that by your glucose number, and then divide that by 2. Now, for men, if you're above 8.82, and women, if you're above 8.73, and you are a normal weight or you have a normal BMI, you are considered metabolically obese normal weight. And the opposite is true. If you are below those numbers, so men below 8.82 and women below 8.73, and your normal weight, normal BMI, you are not considered metabolically obese normal weight. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean that you should just rest on your laurels. You should keep up what you're doing, but you have to understand that that's another biometric that we can utilize to make sure that we are on the right path. Okay, So go ahead, calculate your fasting triglycerides and your fasting glucose to get your TYG index. Okay, and you use that in conjunction with your BMI or your body mass index. If you don't know how to calculate BMI, you can look that up online. It's very simple to calculate. There's actually calculators on Google that you can calculate your BMI. So you can use both of these numbers to kind of see where you're at. Because a lot of times you may have, when you get your blood work back, your triglycerides may be normal, your fasting glucose may be normal, but when you put these ratios together, it'll give you a more complete picture. Because, and I'm going to do an episode on, how to properly test your hormones, but I'm going to do in that episode, I'm going to talk to you guys about reading your labs and what it actually means, because a lot of the labs that I see people get read, they're being read improperly, and I'm not saying improperly because most medical doctors don't know what they're doing with that. But what I'm saying is they look at it from a perspective of pathology and looking for disease. So your numbers are being based upon a certain set of the population that they looked at, and it says, well, these people are considered to be normal. I don't agree with that, because everybody has a different biochemical makeup. So just because your numbers may be normal according to a certain population, you may be different biochemically from that population. So this is why we want to look at ratios. We want to look at functionality, in your body. So in that upcoming episode, I'm going to talk more about reading standard blood tests. So like your complete blood panel, if you're doing a thyroid panel, urinalysis, but also functional lab tests. Some of the functional lab tests that we do in our office, and how to read that and put together a picture, because all these figures, all they're doing is it's another piece to the puzzle, but then putting the piece to the puzzle together to create a comprehensive picture of your health status, and then creating a battle plan, a roadmap to get you to where you want to go. That's the thing that you need to be working with somebody so that you are getting the right results. Okay. All right. So now we know that we can't determine everything just by the weight. We can't determine everything just by BMI, that we need to be looking at what we call the TYG index. We need to be calculating that, looking at all of that stuff. And then what do we do? What do we do about this? Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to do is, if you haven't gotten yourself checked out and getting your labs, go and get that done so you can get those numbers. Then from that, you calculate your TYG index. And then I want you guys to realize that, just because you may be at your ideal weight, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be concerned about your health. And when I say concerned, I should say paying attention. You shouldn't just, oh, hey, you know what? My numbers are normal. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to go and, neglect my health. I'm just going to do whatever I want. No, it's still an active process, or health is an active process. So this is what I mean by, don't just rest on your laurels just because things come back normal. We want to maintain that so that your body can retain a state of health. Okay. So remember, when you calculate your TYG index and you calculate your BMI, you gotta put those things together. And then remember, for men, you should be below 8.82. Women should be below 8.73. And now, if you've done all that, and if you calculate and you are over 8.82 for men or above 8.73 for women, you're considered metabolically obese, normal weight. What do you need to do? Well, go back a couple episodes. I think episode 37, we talk about detoxifying. This is where everything starts. We got to start detoxifying, and there's a specific way and sequence that you need to detoxify at. Okay, so go ahead and start your detoxification process, and then you want to look at the elimination diet, and you want to look at eliminating the things that are causing harm to your body. Okay, If you aren't metabolically obese, normal weight, keep it going. Maybe look at things that can enhance what you're doing. If you're exercising, if you're eating a proper diet, look at things that may increase what you're doing. In another episode, we're gonna talk about how to choose proper nutritional supplements for yourself, rather than just going off of what's being recommended on the internet, or you saw something on a TV show that had a famous doctor on it. All of that stuff is great, but we want to look at you. How do you choose the right supplement for you based upon your metabolic fingerprint? All right, so you got the information here. You know what you got to do. I want you guys to go ahead and do it. If you're not yet part of our Facebook group, please join our Facebook group at www.whatupdocuniversity.com/FB group. We'd love to continue the conversation there. Every Wednesday, I do a Q&A session. I want you guys to tell me, after you guys calculate your TYG index, I want to see, hey, how many of you are considered metabolically obese, normal weight? I'm not trying to call people out here, but hey, it is a surprising thing for a lot of you, right? You're like, wait, I didn't know that I was considered metabolically obese. And it's something that, it's actually a good thing that you recognize that now, because it will prevent things from occurring and you will lower the risk for all these different chronic diseases. And that's the whole goal of it. So join our Facebook group, www.whatupdocuniversity.com/FB group. Again, all of this will be in the show notes. And if you love the podcast, which I know a lot of you do, we got some amazing reviews and 5 stars and shares from people. Please share this with your friends, family, share it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review, because that helps our awareness in the iTunes world, in the podcast iTunes world. It gives us a little bit more awareness for people to find us. But with that said, go ahead and check out the show notes. If you have questions, leave a comment. If you're listening to this on the website, on the whatupdocuniversity.com website, leave us a comment. And if you have a question, leave us a question, and we'll be sure to get to that. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Facebook. But I want you guys to take this and take action. I don't want you guys to just listen to this and whether you're in your car, running on the treadmill, or taking a walk. I don't want you to just listen to this as entertainment. I want you guys to take action upon it and then keep going, right? So I hope this was informative to you. I hope that you can utilize this information, and I hope that you do take action upon it. But till the next time, till we meet again, coming back with episode, I think 40. What was this? Episode 39. We're going to be at episode 40 on our next one. We got a pretty fun episode on the next one. Till next time, be well and aloha.